The city's dawn, a bruise across the bruised horizon, finds you awake, as it always does. Not by choice, but by the insistent tick of an internal clock irrevocably reset. The apartment's silence is a heavy shroud, embroidered with the dust motes dancing in the meager light filtering through grimy window panes. You trace the rim of your chipped ceramic mug, the coffee a bitter comfort against the chill that perpetually clings to your bones, a ghost of forgotten winters. Each morning is a ritual of small resistances. The creak of floorboards underfoot, the rhythmic splash of water in the basin, the careful knotting of a tie you no longer need for any official purpose. Yet, you wear it, a vestige of the man you once were, a uniform for the solitary vigil you now keep. Seth Corbin, stripped of rank, of badge, of the very respect that had been the marrow of your existence. The name itself, now, felt like a public accusation, whispered in hushed tones, carrying the weight of an unclosed file, a career shattered by a phantom. It lives in the stack of old case files, meticulously organized, yet untouched for years, gathering a fine layer of neglect. It breathes in the single-framed photograph on the mantelpiece, a younger you, resolute, standing beside a victim's family, a promise in your eyes that you couldn't keep. That promise, broken, had become the anchor dragging you down. The quiet shatters with the shrill cry of the television. You hadn't meant to turn it on, your thumb slipping on the remote, but now the voice of the news anchor fills the room, a jarring intrusion. Murder. A fresh tremor through the city's brittle calm. The image flashes onto the screen, a blurred exterior, the stark yellow tape, the flashing blue and red of emergency lights painting the pre-dawn gloom. And then, the location, an offshore law office with shred bins and locked safes. A place of hushed transactions, of secrets buried under layers of legal jargon and ironclad privacy. The anchor's voice, now a distant hum, details the discovery. A prominent financier, found in his private office. No forced entry. No apparent struggle. An object placed precisely, almost ceremonially, beside the body. Your breath catches. The coffee cup slips from your fingers, clattering against the polished wood of the small table, miraculously unbroken. No struggle. An object placed with deliberate intent. The words, simple as they are, rip through the carefully constructed walls of your isolation, tearing open old wounds. It was the signature. You push yourself from the armchair, your muscles stiff, protesting. The screen flickers, showing a close-up of a uniformed officer, his face grim, turning away a reporter. The news anchor continues, oblivious to the storm brewing within you, rattling off details that are mere echoes of a different time, a different victim. A ghost. He was supposed to be a ghost, a figment of your professional failure, an unsolved puzzle destined to gather dust in the archives of forgotten crimes. But ghosts don't kill again. The determination, long dormant, sparks to life within you, a dangerous ember fanned by the icy breath of recognition. It's not a choice, not truly. You can feel the familiar hum of purpose, the sharp edge of focus, cutting through the lethargy that had been your constant companion. You move to the old wooden desk, pulling out the bottom drawer. The files are there, tucked away, forgotten by the world, but etched into the very fabric of your memory. The thick manila folder, its label faded but legible, the Obsidian Killer. You pull it out, the paper rustling like dry leaves. Your fingers trace the faded typewritten notes, the photographs of the first victim, the scene, the object. Always the object. You remember the blank stares of your superiors, the skepticism of the other detectives, the slow, agonizing erosion of their trust. They had called it a copycat, a desperate attempt for attention. But you knew better. The killer's playground, once more. The irony is a bitter pill. The one who, despite everything, refused to let a killer walk free. The quiet of your apartment, once a sanctuary, now feels like a prison. You need to move. You need to know. The game has begun again, and whether you wanted it or not, Seth, you are undeniably, irrevocably, in play. The apartment's silence is a heavy shroud, embroidered with the dust motes dancing in the meager light filtering through grimy window panes. You trace the rim of a cooling coffee mug, the ceramic slick beneath your thumb, a hollow echo in the stillness. Another day, another landscape of regret unfurling. The phantom ache in your knuckles, a memory of a slammed desk, of a badge surrendered, still throbs. The old case, a tapestry of loose threads, still unraveled in your mind, each night a reenactment of its unsolved cruelty. A sharp rap on the door, insistent, shattering the fragile peace. Your hand stills, coffee mug forgotten. Visitors are a rarity, a ghost from a life you'd meticulously dismantled. You consider ignoring it, letting the persistent rhythm die. But the knocks grow louder, more demanding, a declaration rather than a request. Through the peephole, a familiar face, etched deeper with the same weary lines time had carved into your own. It is the detective, his posture rigid, shoulders squared against the weight of the morning. His eyes, even through the distorting lens, carry an urgency you once knew intimately. You unlatch the locks, the metallic clicks unusually loud. The detective stands on your threshold, a gust of cool air sweeping past him, carrying the scent of damp concrete and unspoken trouble. And yours are no longer mine. The words are a practiced defense, a well-worn wall. He takes a step inside, uninvited, his gaze sweeping over the Spartan living space, lingering on the stack of untouched newspapers in the corner. This one. It smells familiar, Seth. Too familiar. His eyes fix on yours, an unspoken plea. A new victim. He was found this morning. A financial analyst. Mid-40s. Clean record. Your department has capable people. The same precision. The same almost surgical lack of struggle. The same single, deliberate flourish left behind. Your breath hitches, a silent gasp. The flourish. He closes his eyes for a brief moment, as if recalling a particularly gruesome photograph. A single white iris. Placed carefully on the victim's chest. Stem snapped, not cut. As if torn from its roots. The air leaves your lungs in a rush. The exact detail. The same, impossible signature. The room spins, not from vertigo, but from the sudden, violent jolt of memory. The white iris. A symbol of purity, of remembrance, of death. Where, you demand, your voice raw, stripped of its earlier detachment. Where was the victim found? Not the victim, Seth. The body was found at his apartment. But the incident, the actual event, we believe, happened elsewhere. We're still piecing it together. That's where his last known movements were logged. Security footage shows him leaving late last night, alone. A labyrinth of secrets and obscured truths. A perfect hunting ground. You think. He never left, you ask, the words tasting like ash. The detective nods slowly. We found trace evidence at the office. Enough to suggest a struggle. But the victim wasn't there. No iris. Nothing. It was a secondary location, a clean-up site. Then the body was moved. Just like the others. The others? The plural stings, a confirmation of your worst fears. This wasn't just a copycat. This was the same hand, returned. 3 more, Seth. Over the last 4 years. All dismissed as unrelated, as unfortunate incidents. A missing person, a heart attack, a boating accident. But now, with this one. The iris. It changes everything. The patterns are there, Seth. You were the only one who saw them back then. The sun, now higher, paints the rooftops in a pale, indifferent gold. The old case, your downfall, was no longer just a ghost. The phantom killer. He had never left. He had merely waited. They fired me, you say, your voice flat, distant. Disgraced me. Said I chased ghosts. And now those ghosts are real, Seth, the detective says, his voice unwavering. They need you. I need you. The way this monster operates. You saw it first. You felt it. You were right. The words, you were right, pierce through the layers of cynicism and self-pity you'd built around yourself. They taste like a forbidden fruit, sweet and dangerous. The opportunity to finally solve it, to reclaim a piece of what was lost, beckons with a siren's call. It meant confronting the demons that had driven you to this lonely apartment. You had abandoned the hunt, but the hunter had not abandoned his craft. And now, the hunt had come for you. You turned back to the detective, your jaw tight, a familiar resolve hardening your gaze. Tell me everything. Every single detail. And you had just taken it. The words, you were right, linger in the air, a phantom whisper in the sterile silence of your small apartment. They are a poison and a cure, a bitter draught you have longed for and dreaded in equal measure. The cynicism, a shield meticulously forged over years of disgrace, cracks under their weight. A sliver of raw hope, sharp and unwelcome, pierces through. The siren's call is undeniable now, a melody promising redemption, beckoning you back to the precipice of a world you swore you'd abandoned. You rise, a slow, deliberate movement, your body remembering old rhythms. The dusty cardboard boxes, stacked like monuments to a ruined career in the back of your closet, call to you. Each one holds the brittle remnants of the serpent case, the file that consumed your life and then spat you out. Your fingers, calloused and hesitant, brush against the faded labels. The scent of aged paper and dormant despair rises from the stack as you pull down the heaviest box. On the scarred surface of your kitchen table, the past spills forth. Manila folders, yellowed photographs, handwritten notes that once held the urgency of a ticking clock. You remember the faces of the victims, their lives truncated, their stories unfinished. Your eyes trace the meticulous details, the autopsy reports, the crime scene sketches, the witness statements, each word a ghost. You remember the blank stares of colleagues, the veiled accusations, the slow, agonizing erosion of trust. Hours bleed into one another, illuminated by the harsh glow of a single desk lamp. Coffee, black and bitter, fuels the relentless turning of pages. You're not looking for what you missed then, you're searching for what you couldn't see without the context of now. The new case, fresh and brutal, echoes the old one in chilling harmony. The detective's brief, clipped sentences had painted a picture you already knew by heart. A subtle tremor runs through you as your gaze falls upon a forgotten detail in the old case files, a financial report, tucked away within the victim's personal effects. It details a series of transfers, seemingly innocuous at the time, to an obscure holding company. The name of the company itself is forgettable, a jumble of initials and numbers, but something about the pattern of the transfers, small, regular, then abruptly ceasing, catches your eye. It wasn't about the amount, it was about the deliberate, almost ritualistic, nature of the payments. This wasn't just a simple investment, it felt like a retainer, a hush payment, or a highly structured obligation. You need information on the new case, something more than the scraps you'd heard. Official channels are a locked gate. The precinct, a fortress of fluorescent light and suppressed ambition, looms under the pre-dawn sky. The figure stops, stiffens, then slowly turns. Their eyes, guarded and weary, meet yours. Seth. What do you want? Their tone is flat, devoid of warmth or surprise. The history between you hangs heavy, a thick shroud. The new one, you say, cutting straight to it. The victim. Anything on their financial dealings? Anything unusual? The colleague hesitates, their gaze flicking around the empty street. Why should I tell you anything? A trust, recently established, with some strange clauses. Funds routed through a shell corporation. Nothing that screamed murder, but definitely opaque. They pause, chewing on their lip. The name of the trust, it was something like Viridian Holdings LLC. Not quite the same as the old one, but the structure felt familiar. The names are different, but the method is identical. The colleague provides an address, a discreet location downtown, tucked between a high-end boutique and a vacant storefront. You watch the comings and goings, couriers with secure packages, a few impeccably dressed individuals with briefcases, the regular rhythm of a place designed for discretion. Your mind races, connecting the dots. The new victim's convoluted trust. Both involving a similar financial architecture. Both pointing to this specific type of institution. The killer isn't just targeting people, they're targeting a specific kind of financial vulnerability, or perhaps, a specific type of secret. A cleaning crew arrives in the late evening, a small team of weary-looking individuals. An opportunity. You wait until they've begun their work, then approach the entrance, a laminated badge fabricated years ago for an undercover operation clipped to your jacket. You offer a strained smile, mumbling something about a forgotten document, a late-night delivery. The junior member of the crew, distracted and eager to finish, waves you through with a shrug. Inside, the air is hushed, conditioned, thick with the scent of lemon polish and old money. Your steps echo on marble floors as you navigate empty corridors. The shred bins are everywhere, large industrial units, their steel jaws silent but menacing. Locked safes, heavy and formidable, line the walls of several offices. This is where secrets go to die, or to be meticulously guarded. You find the records room, an archive of dimly lit shelves. You scan the meticulously ordered files, your heart thrumming against your ribs. Not Viridian Holdings, but another, older file, bearing a similar, almost identical, corporate structure. Small, regular, then abruptly ceasing. Tucked away in the digital ledger's metadata, a barely visible timestamp, a unique alphanumeric identifier. It's the same identifier, the exact same sequence of characters, found in the old case's financial records, linked to the original obscure holding company. A digital fingerprint, meticulously replicated across decades. The killer never left. They merely adapted, honed their craft, leaving behind a breadcrumb trail for an investigator who finally had the context to see it. They are not merely spoken, they are a key turning in a rusted lock, unlocking a vault of memory you had desperately tried to seal. The detective, his voice a low hum against the clatter of the station, watches you for a flicker of recognition. You offer none, your face a practiced mask, but inside, the truth writes. The method. The meticulous, almost poetic dedication to obscuring tracks, to dissolving identities into paper dust and corporate shadows. It is the signature of a ghost you chased for years, a phantom that stole your career and scarred your soul. You nod slowly, a gesture of mere comprehension, not confession. And the connection to this victim, you ask, your voice raspy, a deliberate counterpoint to the storm raging within. You need more. You need confirmation that this isn't just a grim coincidence, but a deliberate echo. Minimal at first glance, the detective admits, sifting through a file. A shell company, barely active, linked to a single, untraceable account. The kind of setup designed to be a dead end. But the location of the shell company's registered address. We're running it through our database now, cross-referencing with other cold cases, but it's a long shot. A long shot for them, perhaps. For you, Seth Corbin, it is a direct hit. The air thickens, charged with the unsaid. You remember the endless nights, the maps covered in red string, the frustration coiling in your gut as every lead dissolved into the same corporate mist. The names of the victims then, the names now, they were merely threads in a larger tapestry of calculated disappearance. The killer wasn't targeting individuals for who they were, but for what they represented, a step in a larger, obscure design. You excuse yourself, the need for solitude a sudden, visceral ache. The bustling station, the fluorescent hum, the murmur of other investigations, it all feels alien, distant. You drag the heavy box out, the cardboard groaning under the weight of forgotten nightmares. The scent of aged paper and stale despair rises as you pry it open. Hours bleed into each other. You sit hunched over a makeshift desk, illuminated by the harsh glow of a single lamp. It was the architect's signature, a subtle, almost arrogant flourish. You trace the names, the dates, the meticulously documented failures. The old cases, your failures, now align with the new crime like fractured pieces of a grim mosaic. The killer had never left. They had merely hibernated, evolving, refining their art. Your gaze snaps up, hand instinctively reaching for the heavy paperweight beside you. No one visits you anymore. You approach cautiously, peering through the peephole. A small, unmarked package rests on your welcome mat, a stark white rectangle against the faded wood. No return address, no sender. You retrieve it, the package surprisingly light in your hand. The paper feels smooth, expensive. You tear it open with precise, deliberate movements, anticipating a threat, a taunt. Its wings are a deep, almost iridescent blue, and its delicate paper beak points directly at you. You unfold it carefully, your fingers brushing against the crisp creases. It's not just paper. There's something embedded within the folds. A small, tarnished silver locket falls onto your palm. It's old, intricately engraved with a single, looping initial, S. The one your younger sister, Sarah, wore every day until he was 12, before she lost it during a family vacation, a small, forgotten tragedy from a lifetime ago. A raw, visceral shock lances through you. How could anyone know about this? How could anyone have this? You stare at the locket, then at the shredded paper still clinging to the package. It's not just generic filler. It's thin, almost translucent strips, each one bearing fragments of faded text. You pick up a handful, holding them closer to the light. The letters are small, elegant, like those from a financial ledger. You piece together a few fragments. Client file. Case number, Corbin. The realization strikes you with the force of a physical blow. The shredded paper isn't random, it's from your old case files. The ones that disappeared from the evidence room, the ones you were accused of mishandling, and the locket. A relic from your most private grief, resurrected and placed in your hands by the very ghost you hunt. This is a deliberate, calculated invasion. The killer knows you. They know your past, your failures, your deepest vulnerabilities. The carefully constructed distance you maintained, the professional detachment, shatters into 1,000 pieces. The game has changed. The killer has made it personal. And the pressure, a suffocating weight, settles over you, demanding a response. You clutch the locket, its cold metal a stark reminder of the fragile line between the hunter and the hunted. The phantom has found you. The locket, a cold weight in your palm, burns with a phantom heat. Each sliver, a whispered fragment of your ruined past, mocks you. These aren't just your files, they are the ghost of your career, the specter of your reputation, meticulously dismembered and scattered here, a perverse offering. The locket, a piece of your soul, paired with the desecrated remnants of your deepest failure. It's a message, precise and cruel, meant only for you. You kneel amidst the paper confetti, ignoring the grit of it under your fingers, the metallic tang of the office. Your eyes, sharp despite the blur of memory, scan the intricate patterns of the cuts. Cross-shredded, of course. A professional job, designed to defy reconstruction. A harsh clang echoes from downstairs, followed by the murmur of approaching voices. The authorities. Someone must have tripped an alarm, or a patrol noticed the forced entry you'd made. No time for subtlety now. The first officer through the door is a burly patrolman, his hand already on his sidearm. He sees you, crouched in the wreckage, and his eyes narrow. Freeze. Police. You slowly rise, hands open, visible. Seth Corbin, you state, your voice surprisingly steady. Former detective. The words taste like ash. A moment later, a detective you vaguely recognize from the precinct pushes past the patrolman. His face is a mask of weary suspicion. Corbin. What in the hell are you doing here? He gestures around the ransacked office. This your handiwork? I was led here, you respond, gesturing vaguely at the chaos. Another crime. Connected to the original. You don't mention the locket yet, nor the files. Not until you understand why they're here. The detective's gaze follows yours to the shredded paper. His eyes, already burdened, seem to sink deeper. Another one, huh? Just like the others? And you just happen to be here. His tone is heavy with disbelief, laced with an old, familiar accusation. Within the hour, the office swarms with uniforms and forensics. You are kept at arm's length, a person of interest rather than an asset. The detective, whose name you recall as Miller, directs the scene, his jaw tight. He questions you, his questions circling your presence, your past, the convenient timing. He focuses on the forced entry, the disturbed files, the missing hard drives from the server room. "We have a strong lead," Miller announces later, his voice carrying through the low hum of forensic equipment. "The senior partner of this firm, a man named Sterling Vance. He's been under investigation for embezzlement. His client, the victim in the new case, was about to testify against him. Vance had motive, access, and the means to make these files disappear." You watch as Vance, a man whose tailored suit now sags with defeat, is led away in cuffs. He looks bewildered, protesting his innocence, but the evidence, as presented by Miller, is compelling: financial irregularities, a direct connection to the victim, and a history of cutting corners. The official narrative solidifies around him, a tidy solution to a messy problem. The tension in the room eases, a collective sigh of relief from those eager to close the case. But something in your gut rebels. Vance, a white-collar criminal, capable of murder? Perhaps. This killer, your killer, plays a different game. While Miller's team focuses on Vance's financial records and alibis, you gravitate back to the shred bins, a quiet, insistent pull. They've been processed, sifted, but the sheer volume of material means details are easily missed. You ask for a closer look, claiming you recognize something from your old files that could be crucial. Miller, wanting to keep you contained, allows it, assigning a junior officer to watch you. The fragments are a chaotic tapestry of legal jargon, client names, dates, and account numbers. You focus not on content, but on anomalies. The type of paper, the ink, the faint watermarks. Most of it is standard office stock. Not shredded. Something small, folded, tucked deep within a stack of seemingly innocuous client folders that had been tossed into the bin, likely in haste, before the full shredding process could be completed. It's a single, heavy stock index card, folded twice, almost invisible amongst the paper chaff. You pull it out, unfolding it carefully. It's blank on one side. On the other, scrawled in an elegant, almost calligraphic hand, is a single, distinctive symbol, a stylized raven's feather, impossibly detailed, its barbs fanning out with an unsettling precision. Your breath catches. This isn't Vance. This isn't embezzlement. The raven's feather. You've seen it before, not in your files, not in any official report, but in the periphery of your memory, a fleeting glimpse from a forgotten detail of the original crime scene, a small, almost imperceptible etching on a forgotten object. A signature, too subtle for the hurried eye, too specific to be coincidence. The junior officer glances your way. Find anything, Corbin? You slide the card into your pocket, the heavy cardstock a stark contrast to the flimsy paper slivers around you. Just more of the same. You lie smoothly, your voice betraying none of the seismic shift within you. The official investigation has its man, its easy answer. The game has just begun, and you are playing it alone. The city hums beneath your window, a dull, indifferent beast. You ignore its rhythm, the pulse of a world content with easy answers. The heavy cardstock rests on the scarred surface of your desk, a small, dark beacon in the dim light of your apartment. They have their man, the authorities. A convenient narrative, neatly packaged, tied with a bow of circumstantial evidence. But you, Seth Corbin, know the difference between a shadow and the substance that casts it. You retrieve the card, turning it slowly under the beam of your desk lamp. Such places thrive on discretion, on the quiet management of wealth and secrets. But something tugs at the edge of your perception, a phantom itch behind your eyes. You angle the card, tilting it just so, until the light catches it at an acute angle. There it is. Not printed, but embossed. A faint, almost invisible impression, pressed into the thick paper. A griffin. Stylized, heraldic, its wings swept back, its gaze piercing. A mythical creature, ancient guardian of treasures, now a silent herald on a modern piece of paper. You stare at it, a tremor starting deep within your chest. A ghost of an image, hazy and indistinct, flickers at the edge of your mind. You push back from the desk, the chair scraping a protest against the floorboards. Old cardboard boxes, stacked like monuments to your past, stand sentinel in the corner. You plunge into them, hands moving with an almost desperate urgency, sifting through the detritus of a career derailed. Dust motes dance in the lamp's harsh glow as you pull out the aged evidence folders, their edges softened by time and repeated handling. Crime scene photos, stark and unforgiving, spill onto the desk. Victim profiles, witness statements, forensic reports that once promised clarity, now just faded ink on brittle paper. You spread them out, a mosaic of loss and unanswered questions. The first victim from the old case. A young financial analyst, meticulous to a fault. You remember the detail that nagged at you then, a faint watermark on a letter found tucked inside his desk drawer. You lean closer, pulling a magnifying glass from a forgotten drawer. There, barely visible beneath the printed text of a mundane utility bill, a similar impression. The same griffin, its fierce silhouette a silent, watchful presence. You move to the second victim, a retired academic with a penchant for historical texts. His study, captured in grainy black and white, reveals a shelf of leather-bound tomes. One, lying open on a lectern, has a small, decorative clasp. Zooming in, sharpening the image on your computer screen, you discern the familiar shape. Etched into the aged metal, almost an ornament, yet now, a glaring beacon. The third, a quiet archivist, disappeared from his home without a trace, his body later found miles away. Among the few personal effects recovered, a heavy, ornate signet ring. The initial report dismissed it as an heirloom. You find the photograph, the ring nestled in an evidence bag. The light catches the face of the ring, revealing the familiar crest. The griffin, its claws poised, its wings unfurled. This isn't coincidence. This isn't random. It's a signature, a brand mark, meticulously placed, yet designed to be overlooked. A whisper in plain sight. You return to the card from the recent crime scene, the one clutched in the victim's stiff hand. The connection snaps into place with the force of a tidal wave. The griffin is the key. It's not just a symbol, it's a lineage, a trust, a secret. Society, a powerful entity shrouded in the impenetrable veils of wealth and influence. These victims, all of them, were connected to this griffin, whether by knowledge, by threat, or by inheritance. They were either exposing it, or they were it, targets in a brutal internal purge. The air in your apartment grows heavy, thick with the weight of this revelation. The killer isn't a phantom, they are a guardian, a merciless protector of this griffin entity. Someone is systematically eliminating anyone who could compromise its existence, its secrets, its vast, hidden empire. Your breath hitches. The official investigation, so confident in its convenient culprit, is blind. You see it now, the intricate web woven across decades, across lives, all bound by this silent, predatory symbol. The killer never left. You are no longer chasing a ghost, Seth Corbin. You are hunting a powerful, entrenched force, one that operates with precision and impunity, its talons sunk deep into the bedrock of society. The game has changed. The stakes have become impossibly high. And you, with your tarnished badge and burning conviction, are now standing directly in its path. The griffin stares back at you from the card, its eyes unblinking, promising a hunt far more perilous than you had ever imagined. The city's pulse, a distant thrum, fades behind you as the taxi glides through the night, a silent predator. The heavy card stock, its edges still sharp against your thumb, has led you here, to a gleaming monolith of glass and steel. Its facade reflects the streetlights in fractured, cold gleams, a mirror to the fractured truth you seek. You step from the vehicle, the humid air of the docks clinging to your clothes. The building hums, a low, almost imperceptible vibration, a sign of constant activity within its hushed walls. The card you hold, a relic from a forgotten pocket in a forgotten file, bears the insignia of this very firm. It was among the effects of a victim long dismissed, a detail you had overlooked in your initial, hurried descent into the case's abyss. Now, it feels like a breadcrumb left by a ghost. The lobby is a cathedral of polished stone and hushed tones. His gaze is a slow, methodical sweep, assessing, dismissing. You meet it with your own, a carefully constructed mask of disinterest. Your story is ready, a fragile tapestry woven with half-truths and a borrowed identity. You are here to inquire about a lapsed trust, a distant relative's estate, a phantom inheritance. Good evening, you offer, your voice a low murmur, rehearsed to perfection. Seth Corbin, for a confidential inquiry. You push the old card across the polished surface. The guard's eyes, sharp and intelligent, flick from the card to your face, then back again. He notes the faded corners, the slight creasing. Corbin, he states, his voice smooth, devoid of inflection. Appointments are strictly by arrangement. I understand, you reply, your hand resting casually on the edge of the desk, your fingers inches from a discreet panic button. But my situation is time-sensitive. A matter of considerable urgency regarding the settlement of the Everhart Trust. You invent the name, a throwaway from an old case file, hoping it resonates with enough authenticity. The guard pauses, his gaze unwavering. He taps a few keys on his console. The soft glow of the screen illuminates the faint lines etched around his eyes. A slow, almost imperceptible hum of machinery begins to emanate from a hidden corridor. The guard's attention is momentarily diverted, his head cocking slightly. This is your window. As his eyes drift towards the sound, your hand moves. Swift. Precise. You palm a small, discreet keycard left on the desk, a forgotten tool of late-night access. Maintaining the charade, even as your heart thrums a frantic rhythm against your ribs. I can take a message, he offers. Finally turning back to you, a hint of impatience now in his voice. You scribble a false name and number on a pad, a phantom trail. As you turn to leave, the keycard is already tucked into your wallet. Its presence a burning secret. Outside, the cool night air is a relief. You circle the block, the building a silent sentinel. The sound of the whirring machinery from inside the building now makes sense. The guard's momentary distraction was no accident. It was the hum of shredders. They were working late, destroying something. The keycard slides into the reader with a soft click. The green light flares, a brief, emerald invitation. The air inside is dry, recycled, smelling faintly of ozone and toner. You navigate the maze of corridors, guided by the faint hum that led you to the service entrance. The sound intensifies, leading you to a large, open-plan office on an upper floor. Here, the hum is a roar. 3 enormous industrial shredders churn relentlessly, devouring reams of documents. 2 clerks, their faces grim and tired, feed the hungry machines, their movements mechanical, repetitive. They wear gloves, their hands protected from the endless stream of paper dust. The air is thick with it, fine particles dancing in the harsh light. You flatten yourself against a wall, concealed by a cluster of tall, potted palms, the broad leaves offering a fragile curtain. You watch, your breath held, as they work. The sheer volume of paper being destroyed is staggering. What information could be so dangerous, so incriminating, that it warranted such a late-night, industrial-scale annihilation? One of the clerks, a woman with tired eyes, pauses, rubbing her temples. She glances towards a locked safe built into the wall, a heavy, steel behemoth. Her gaze lingers, a subtle shift in her posture. There is something in that safe, something she wishes wasn't there, or perhaps, something she wishes wasn't being destroyed. She then turns back to her task, but the seed of curiosity has been planted in your mind. You wait, a statue of watchful intent, until the clerks finally finish their grim task, the shredders groaning to a halt. They pack up, their briefcases heavy, their steps slow. As they exit, locking the office behind them, you slip from your hiding place. The office is a battlefield of paper confetti, snowdrifts of shredded documents piled high beside the silent machines. You move with purpose, your gaze fixed on the wall safe. You examine the lock, a digital keypad, and then the surrounding wall. Your fingers trace the edges of the safe, feeling for any weakness, any seam. You notice a small, almost invisible scuff mark on the polished floor directly in front of the safe, as if something heavy has been dragged across it repeatedly. Your eyes follow the faint trail to a heavy oak desk, positioned just a few feet away. It feels ancient, its pages brittle with age. You open it, your fingers careful, almost reverent. The script inside is meticulous, elegant, a stark contrast to the brutal destruction around you. Another, the cleansing, corresponds with the most recent, eerily similar crime. The names are not of the victims, but of shell corporations, numbered accounts, and offshore trusts. The Everhart Trust, the one you had fabricated, even makes an appearance, listed as a dormant entity. This ledger is a key, a map to the killer's financial labyrinth, a blueprint of their meticulous planning. The outer door to the office, the one the clerks had locked, is opening. Footsteps, heavy and deliberate, approach. You freeze, the ledger clutched in your hand, your blood turning to ice. You have mere seconds. The shred bins, overflowing with their papery graves, are too obvious. Your eyes dart to the desk, the stack of reports. The footsteps enter the room. You hear the rustle of clothing, the soft click of a light switch, bathing the room in an even harsher glow. It seems our late-night cleanup wasn't as thorough as we'd hoped. The voice is calm, almost conversational, yet it sends a shiver down your spine. It is the voice of someone who knows you are here, someone who was waiting. You hold your breath, the ledger pressed against your chest, its old leather cover a thin shield against the encroaching danger. Your muscles tense. Ready to spring, but against what? The figure takes another step into the room. A flash of light catches your eye, the glint of metal. You are not alone. You were not just observed, you were lured. This confrontation, dangerous and meticulously orchestrated, was always the killer's next move. Your hand, poised above the cool laminate, feels the faint tremor of the desk. Across from you, the clerk, a woman with eyes like chipped slate, taps a manicured finger against her screen. Are you certain of the designation? Her voice is a smooth, polished stone, but the slight tightening around her mouth betrays her. You recognize the subtle shift, it's the precursor to a wall, to a call for security. Your bluff is teetering. Absolutely certain, you assert, leaning forward slightly, your voice low, imbued with an authority you no longer truly possess. It's a legacy account, highly confidential. Perhaps under a different, older designation? A subsidiary perhaps, or a holding company under a corporate veil? You gesture vaguely towards the imposing rows of locked safes lining the far wall, then to the hulking shred bins, their maw-like openings promising oblivion for secrets. You need a distraction, an opening. Your eyes dart, scanning for anything amiss, anything that doesn't belong. The clerk's finger hovers over a key, her suspicion solidifying. I will need to verify your credentials, Mr. Corbin. This level of inquiry requires a formal appointment, not a casual drop-in. Her hand moves, slowly, deliberately, towards a small, red button embedded discreetly beneath the desk's edge. The panic button. You might want to check the integrity of your shred bins. Your gaze is fixed on the nearest one, a large industrial model near the corner. It's a desperate gamble. Her eyes follow your gaze, a momentary break in her focus. It's enough. As she leans to peer at the bin, a slight frown creasing her brow, your hand snakes out. Not for the panic button, but for a stray file folder on the corner of her desk, one he had just closed. The emblem of the original Everhard Corporation, the victim in your first cold case. It shouldn't be here. Not in an offshore law office. Not now. Your fingers are quick, practiced. You slide the folder a fraction of an inch towards you, just enough to glimpse the top edge of a document inside. A name. A date. And a transfer of assets. A name you know. A date that precedes the original Everhard murder by mere weeks. It seems to be jammed, the clerk states, her attention still fixed on the shred bin, oblivious to your small heist. Her hand is now firmly on the panic button. I'm afraid I must ask you to leave. The thin file, barely thicker than a magazine, is now tucked discreetly into the inside pocket of your jacket. You nod curtly, turn, and walk out, the clerk's bewildered gaze a palpable weight on your back. The heavy door swings shut behind you, sealing you away from the sterile, deceptive quiet of the office. Outside, the salt tang of the sea air is a sharp, welcome slap. You find a secluded bench overlooking the choppy harbor, the gulls crying their endless laments. Your hands are steady as you extract the stolen file. The document inside is a transfer of ownership, dated a month before the Everhart patriarch vanished. The stylized bird emblem is stark against the parchment. And the name of the beneficiary, the recipient of a considerable portion of the Everhart assets, stares up at you. It's the clerk. Not the one you just left, but the one from the original investigation. The quiet, unassuming administrative assistant who had worked closely with the Everhart family for years. The one who had wept openly during the initial inquiries, dismissed as a grieving employee. The one who had provided the seemingly innocuous alibi for the man who was ultimately, wrongly, accused. It wasn't just a copycat. It was a continuation. It was merely dormant, waiting for the right moment to strike again, using the playbook perfected years ago. You see it all now, the threads connecting the past to the present, forming a sinister tapestry. The recent murders, the similarities, were not a killer's return, but a killer's resurgence, a reassertion of power. The true culprit, the silent architect of your downfall and the orchestrator of these recent horrors, has been there all along, hiding in plain sight, a phantom you failed to see. And now, you see her. The city exhales a metallic breath as you drive, the neon glow painting fleeting strokes across your determined face. The thin file, warm against your chest inside your jacket, is a compass pointing to a ghost. Its partially visible name, once a whisper in the wind, now screams with the clarity of a newly struck bell. You know where you are going. You know who you will find. A fortress of paper and secrets. The file had contained more than just a name. Tucked within its brittle pages was an old, forgotten keycard, its magnetic strip probably long dead, but its plastic shell a perfect template for the lockpicking tools you still carry, relics of a life you thought you'd abandoned. You park down a deserted alley, the engine ticking softly as it cools. The air is sharp, carrying the faint tang of salt from the distant docks. Your hands, steady despite the hum of adrenaline beneath your skin, retrieve the thin picks from their hidden pouch. The main entrance is too obvious, too modern. The file, gleaned from a forgotten archive, spoke of a rarely used service entrance around the back, a relic from the building's earlier incarnation. The back alley is a canyon of brick and shadow, smelling of stale refuse and damp concrete. A rusted steel door, barely visible, waits. Your fingers, practiced and precise, dance across the tumblers. Each click is a small victory, a tiny surrender of the lock's resistance. The air inside is cool, sterile, carrying the faint scent of old paper and ozone. The building is a mausoleum of quiet ambition. Footfalls echo too loudly on the polished linoleum. You navigate the labyrinthine corridors, guided by an internal map reconstructed from the file's cryptic notes and the building's blueprints. You reach the main office floor. This place is designed to contain, to obscure, to forget. Your eyes scan the room, searching for any disturbance, any sign of life. A faint glow emanates from a distant corner, a sliver of light beneath a closed door. You move with the predatory grace of a hunter, each step measured, each breath controlled. The light grows stronger as you approach the door, revealing the faint hum of a machine. It's the sound of paper being devoured, a mechanical gnawing that sends a shiver down your spine. This is it. The final act. You push the door open, slowly, silently. A figure stands before it, their back to you, feeding sheets of paper into its hungry maw. The air is thick with the scent of shredded documents and fear. The shred bins are overflowing, mountains of confetti obscuring what once were lives, fortunes, and crimes. Evening, you say, your voice a low, gravelly current that cuts through the mechanical drone. The figure freezes, then slowly turns. Their eyes, once seemingly benign, now hold the depth of a bottomless well. This was the architect, the puppet master, the one who pulled the strings for decades, hidden in plain sight. Seth Corbin, the administrator, says, their voice smooth, devoid of true emotion, a ghost from the past. How inconvenient. Inconvenient for you, you correct, your weapon now aimed steadily at their chest. You've been busy. Tying up loose ends, I presume? Erasing your tracks, one shred at a time. You gesture to the churning machine. This whole office, a monument to your clean slate. The administrator gives a faint, almost imperceptible smile. A necessary endeavor. Loose ends unravel. And you, Seth, were always the most persistent of threads. They gesture around the room, their hands sweeping over a series of open-locked safes, their contents either empty or filled with innocuous-looking ledgers. These records, these lives. They were merely instruments. Obstacles removed. Assets secured. The forged wills. It was never about the money, not just the money. It was about power. About rewriting history, wasn't it? This office, these shred bins, these locked safes. They were always meant to be my final fortress, my impenetrable vault of secrets. And tonight, I was merely ensuring its integrity. Too many. You can't let them be destroyed. It ends here, you declare, your grip tightening on the weapon. Does it? The administrator counters, a strange glint in their eyes. With a sudden, swift movement, they sweep their arm across the table, sending the stack of files tumbling towards the shredder's open mouth. Simultaneously, their other hand darts to a hidden panel beneath the table, pressing a concealed button. A heavy steel door, previously unnoticed, begins to slide silently into place, threatening to seal the room, and you, inside. The roar of the shredder intensifies, hungry for its final meal. The administrator's arm arcs, a blur of intent, sending the meticulously organized stacks of paper airborne. Your breath hitches, a sharp intake of the stale office air. The weapon, a cold extension of your resolve, trembles slightly in your grasp. No, you snarl, a raw sound torn from your throat, but the word is swallowed by the rustle of falling evidence, a paper avalanche descending towards the dark, hungry slots of the shred bins. The administrator, a shadow now against the harsh, fluorescent glow, lunges not for you, but for a heavy, reinforced door nestled among the imposing bulk of the locked safes, a hidden egress, meticulously disguised, that you hadn't noticed until this desperate, final second. A split-second decision cleaves the air, sharp as shattered glass. Your aim steadies, not for a killing blow, but for incapacitation, for the cessation of flight. The shot cracks, a sharp report that rips through the hushed sanctity of the office, a sound too loud, too violent for the sterile environment. A cry, ragged and sharp, tears from the administrator's lips as they stumble, their hand grasping futilely at the cold metal of the doorframe, a dark bloom spreading rapidly across the shoulder of their tailored jacket. The strange glint in their eyes, moments ago a spark of defiant madness, now flickers, then extinguishes, replaced by a momentary shock, a dawning realization of defeat. They fall, a heap of expensive cloth and shattered ambition, amidst the swirling, settling snow of paper, a silent testament to a hidden war. Footsteps thunder in the corridor, heavy and deliberate, growing louder with each beat of your own slowing heart. The main door bursts inward, revealing the lead detective, their face a grim mask of readiness, followed by a squad of uniformed officers, weapons raised, their gazes sweeping the chaotic tableau. Their eyes, sharp and practiced, first lock onto you, then to the fallen administrator, then to the blizzard of incriminating files that carpet the polished floor. You lower your weapon, the weight suddenly immense, alien, your fingers stiff, a phantom ache blooming in your shoulder from the recoil. The lead detective approaches, their gaze piercing, scanning your face, not for accusation, but for answers, for the story etched in your exhausted features. The lead detective's voice is low, a gravelly murmur that cuts through the lingering tension. Seth. What have you found here? You point a trembling hand to the bound administrator, then sweep it across the floor, indicating the swirling papers. More than we imagined. This isn't just one person, lead detective. These aren't just local crimes, isolated incidents. This is a system. As the officers meticulously collect the files, carefully cataloging each piece of evidence, a grim tapestry begins to unfurl. Ledgers, meticulously kept, detailing shell corporations woven into a global financial web. Offshore accounts, brimming with illicit funds, masked by layers of legal obfuscation. The files reveal a complex infrastructure of facilitators, not direct killers, but those who laundered the killer's freedom, providing airtight alibis, obscuring digital and physical traces, funding their ghost-like existence across continents. These weren't just random acts of violence, they were meticulously planned, executed with the precision of a corporate takeover, financed and protected by a network designed to render the perpetrator invisible. You look at the bound administrator, their eyes now devoid of the strange glint, replaced by a vacant stare, a profound weariness, the fire of their twisted conviction finally extinguished. The lead detective places a hand on your shoulder, a gesture of quiet, almost reverent, recognition. It's over, Seth. It's really over. You did it. The words, simple yet profound, resonate deep within you, vibrating through your weary frame. The intricate web of deceit, spun across decades, now lies exposed, its meticulously crafted threads severed. The phantom killer, who had haunted your waking hours and plagued your dreams, finally has a name, a face, and a vast, corrupt network laid bare for all to see. You watch, mesmerized, as the last of the files are carefully placed into transparent evidence bags, each sealed sheath a solemn promise of truth revealed, of consequences finally met. The weight of the weapon is gone, replaced by the ghost of its presence in your palm, a memory of the power you wielded, the burden you carried. The immediate, terrifying journey has ended, but the path ahead, the one of healing and rebuilding, of reckoning with the aftermath, stretches long and uncertain, a winding road into an unknown future. The air within the offshore law office with shred bins and locked safes shatters, each flung sheet a frantic gasp. Time, a fragile membrane, stretches taut. You lunge, a desperate blur of motion, towards the cascading snowstorm of paper, your hand an outstretched claw. Your fingers brush against glossy stock, a fleeting touch, then grip a corner, yanking it free from the descent. Another, then another. The administrator, eyes wide with a feral desperation, scrambles, their own hands a blur, batting pages towards the hungry machines. It is a macabre dance, a struggle over shredded futures and buried pasts. You are a salmon battling the current, swimming against the tide of obliteration. A sharp elbow connects with your side, a jolt of pain that fuels your resolve. You pivot, using the momentum to sweep your arm wide, knocking a stack of documents the administrator had clutched, sending them scattering across the polished floor, away from the waiting blades. A low growl escapes the administrator's throat, a sound of frustrated rage. "It's over," you rasp, your voice rough with exertion, your lungs burning. You stand amidst the scattered fragments of a conspiracy, your gaze locking onto the administrator. "Tell me everything." Or watch your carefully constructed world crumble, piece by agonizing piece, in a courtroom. The administrator hesitates, their chest heaving. Their eyes dart to the locked safes lining the wall, then back to the shred bins, a silent calculation weighing the cost of defiance against the inevitability of exposure. The silence that follows is heavy, thick with unspoken truths. "He promised protection," the administrator whispers, the words thin, almost lost in the residual hum of the machines. Absolute immunity. A fortress built on paper, untouchable. You step closer, gathering a handful of rescued documents, their edges crisp against your palm. Who is he? The phantom, the architect of decades of shadows? The one who twisted lives into knots of despair? The administrator finally breaks, their shoulders slumping. The network. It's vast. Untraceable. We moved the money, obscured the trails. He found us, offered us a purpose. A vision of cleansing. He saw the rot, he said. And he would cut it out. Your mind races, fitting the final, brutal pieces into place. The administrator, merely a cog in a larger, more insidious machine. The meticulous planning, the generational reach of the crimes, it all pointed to a mastermind, not just a lone killer. His name. The real name, the one he hides behind the smoke and mirrors. The administrator lifts their chin, a flicker of defiance returning, then quickly extinguished. He uses many. But the one he cherishes. The one that means the end. It's a name from ancient texts. Seth Corbin. He always said you were the one who understood his game. The only one who ever truly saw him. The revelation hits you like a physical blow, a sudden, brutal twist of the knife in an old wound. He hadn't just returned, he had been mocking you, haunting you with your own reflection, all these years. The phantom killer's deepest secret, a perverse mirroring of your own existence. It was a game of mirrors, you now understood, designed to break you, to force you to confront the monster he made of your ghost. The other detectives, arriving swiftly on the scene, find you standing amidst the scattered papers, a quiet intensity in your gaze. The administrator, pale and defeated, is already being led away. The retrieved documents, now carefully collected and bagged, represent not just evidence, but a vindication. In the days that follow, the unraveling is swift and absolute. The administrator's testimony, combined with the irrefutable evidence from the offshore law office with shred bins and locked safes, brings down the network. The ghost, the true mastermind, is finally unmasked, stripped of their aliases and their carefully crafted anonymity. The media storm is immense, a maelstrom of headlines screaming your name, not in disgrace, but in triumph. Your reputation, once shattered, begins to mend, piece by agonizing piece. The chief of the precinct, a man whose face had once been a mask of disappointment, offers a hand, a quiet acknowledgement of your unwavering pursuit. The victims, finally, have their justice. Yet, as you stand on the docks, the salty wind whipping at your coat, a profound quiet settles within you. The victory is immense, undeniable, but the echoes of the phantom's twisted obsession with your name, with your very being, linger. The hunt is over, but the hunter is forever changed. The world feels different now, sharper, more fragile. The old life, the disgraced life, is gone. A new horizon stretches before you, uncertain but undeniably present. The scars remain, etched deep, a testament to the labyrinth you navigated. Your journey has ended, but the path ahead, though unwritten, feels less like an ending and more like a beginning, forged in the crucible of truth.